All right. Oh, what an expansive community. It's good to see so many new faces, old faces. Thank you for all of you who are sharing the invitation and are reaching out to your global community, your individual communities. It's good to have you all here. You know, we're going to be here for a little while, so I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off because I'm really eager to start sharing what it is that we've been doing over the last 10 months at this point. So let me introduce myself. My name is Stephanie Rosario Rodriguez. I am the knowledge manager here at the Clubhouse Network. I am also the geographic liaison for clubhouses and Best Buy Teen Tech Centers in the Midwest of the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. So I have my hands across a lot of different clubhouses. And last year, I started working and developing this Clubhouse Tech Fellowship program, which is kind of the first time we've really done this in this capacity. So I really want to give a huge thank you to Gus and Galen and Cherrie for all of their flexibility and their openness to just like try new things. And really that's at the core of everything we do here at the Clubhouse is trying new things and really diving deep into, you know, our own interests, because we're always encouraging youth to follow their own interests and their own passions. But we don't often talk about what our passions are and what our interests are and following those and really modeling those behaviors. So that was a big part of this fellowship. So the 2021 Tech Fellowship centered around connecting Clubhouse staff. So in this case, it was coordinators, 3 coordinators around a variety of different topics. You know, we talked to people around AI and NFTs. You know, we had conversations around building more equitable practices and new projects. And I'm very excited to share some of that work with you all. I know many of you here are interested in also learning about the 2022 program. I will be sharing that application at the end of the session because I really want to make sure that we're devoting our time and our attention to our 3 wonderful presenters. And I'm also going to give you a sneak peek of the Spark cards that we've developed on the Village. So these are our challenges and project ideas for you all to share with your youth. And our hope is to kind of keep expanding on this in the future. So everyone here will have early access to the application and those Spark cards. So I'm very excited to share that with you. But in the meantime, you know, I don't want to take up too much more space because I want to make room for our community. If you have questions, you know, there's going to be a limited time to ask each presenter questions. But I would also encourage you to keep those conversations going in the chat. My colleague Jake WM here, he's going to be running tech. If you have any issues or something's kind of funky on your end, feel free to send him a direct message, or you can message me directly, and we'll do our best to kind of help. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just pass it along to Miss Chillin, Cherrie Kabba, who will tell you more about her project and her passion. So Cherrie, all you.
Hello and good morning from the West Coast. I'm Cherrie Kabba. Most of you guys know me as Chillin or Miss Chillin. And hey, I just want to get into the project, and then if you have questions, either send them in the chat or open it up and then we'll chat then. I was just 12 when I learned the power of a pen. Back then, the ink told the stories and I just kept writing. Back when there were no computers in our homes, no teen lines or personal cell phones, no Xboxes, PlayStations, or DVDs. When the we could be we, I could be me, and you could be you. When parents were not compared to Erykah Badu, Music Soul Child, Britney Spears, or the Tame called Woo. When we jumped double dutch and played Hooskadoo, did the hand jive, played Miss Mary Mac, ate penny candy, and I love me some Cracker Jacks. Whoa. I guess maybe I went too far back. So let me get back on track. Actually, right now, this is me. I teach the youth to fall in love with technology at BGCP. Metaphorically, I play Cupid and my arrow is imagery. Please allow me to explain. In the stages of infancy, even a craftsman chooses a topic to study and develops a discipline of mastery. You see, in truth, I lure the young people in the computer clubhouse scene by bringing life to originality, and secretly, I teach them how to increase their vocabulary through spoken words. I curb their appetite for profanity with new phrases and verses of opportunities. I find other ways than scrolls and lily pads to tell stories of struggles of not having a dad. We color inside the lines with the fine tunings of rhythm and rhymes. Case in point, number 1. Have a member choose 1 to 10 photos from their phone. Suggest pics that indicate memorable milestones. Have them record the first thing that comes to mind. Clean up the audio until the project's defined. It's time to add music, so be sure to teach about royalty-free tunes that follows the criteria from Reach. P. His muscles are permanently assigned to juggling the jewels of avoiding the struggle, keeping her out of trouble, warding off senseless scuffles, and also how to knuckle up or when to use a shovel and dig a ditch if she needs to. Cause the B word will never be a name she answers to. Hands of aggression will not be something for her to get used to. Her body will never be a finish line for brothers to run through. N-words and racial slurs will not be terms of endearment because her daddy adores her spirit. Case in point number 2. Another option, yet another notion, was to tell a story using stop motion. I be that poet. I be that hot chocolate cheesy-eyed Chi-Town sister that flows it. I take my time donating my rhymes to elevate your mind. I instigate and narrate literary mandates and negate those that hate to facilitate a rhythmic debate. Yo, I be that poet. Last but not least, number 3. This very presentation, constructed in Doodly, can be used to create and animate and extremely simple to illustrate. The power of a pen helps you tell a story where you own the narrative, you own the style and the category. I was just 12 when I learned the power of a pen, and I've been writing non-stop ever since then. All right, guys, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I wanted to be able to present how to use multimedia to teach the young people the power of a pen and how once their stories are written and how important it is for them to write their own narrative, but once their stories are written, how we can get them interested in digital multimedia so they can share it with the masses. I know most of you guys see me perform live before, but sometimes it's not always just about recording a talking head. We can incorporate photos from our cell phones, animations, music. We all know how it works, but sometimes it's nice just to see it and actually how it's used in reality. So does anyone have any kind of questions or comments? I'm looking at the chat, and thank you guys. But are there any questions?
I have a question. So how did you pick the topics that you wanted to focus on to kind of show people the different things that they could do and teach youth? How did you decide on those topics?
For this particular presentation?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to choose a medium where we use photos from our phone. And the project that we did for Father's Day probably was way back in 2013. And what I asked the young people that I was working with at the time was submit a photo of them and their fathers. And then we got together and wrote, it was a piece that we constructed just for Father's Day. So it's not just one member that we worked with, it was a full crew. It was an engaging activity because I wanted all of them to see the power of the photos in their phone. Some of them had 9,000, 10,000 photos in their phone and they weren't doing anything with them. So we did a project where they could dump some out and then create a slideshow. I thought about the stop motion project. We did the workshop or the workshop with MIT. And when they introduced stop motion to us, I figured out how easily that free app was to work with the young people and as an engaging project with a group of ninth graders. I facilitated a quick lesson with them in like 10 minutes and taught them stop motion. And then they actually created a video all within about an hour and a half. So they were able to download the free app, hurry up and learn how to use the app, create a quick stop motion, and then we used Padlet to have them uploaded within 90 minutes. And we had a showcase, because this is the generation of instant gratification and they need things to happen for them really quickly. Otherwise, I'm going to lose them in the technology department. We're housed inside of Boys and Girls Club. So there's 7 other departments that they can spend their time in, or as we all know, they can spend their time in the streets. So I have to be really creative. We all have to be really creative to get their attention really fast, keep it, and then show them how to use their mobile devices if they are not interested in pulling out their computers or they don't even have one handy.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Thanks for telling us about your process.
Thank you.
Quick question about using Doodly.
Yes.
This is Jill in Cleveland. I've been looking at that, adding it to our subscriptions, because it looks like it's super easy to use. How
Yes.
did you find it?
There was so honestly, I've always seen the Doodly commercials, but it's never been in color. So somewhere around Christmas, I think of 2020, they were offering it really inexpensive, something like $47, or you could pay like $1,500 for them to actually design it for you. And I've always wanted to do a spoken word project with it. Didn't have necessarily one in mind, but at $47, I went ahead, downloaded it, but I didn't look at it for about 4 months. I didn't even really have time. So during spring break, I said, okay, well, let me look at this and see how this works. Well, everything was just in black and white, and that was okay. But I was like, let me just look at their website and see what else they have to offer. And as I was sharing with the fellows a couple of days ago, it's a really inexpensive software to start out with, but you have to know they're going to nickel and dime you for every upgrade. If you want the people to look like they have any kind of color with them, or if you even want their color option, everything costs. But it's not too expensive. So like each package may be about $50, and you may get 50 pictures or images for the $50. So I've probably done about 10 upgrades since I actually bought the software way back in December.
Thanks.
One thing that I do want to add to, or just share, is I am sharing it on 2 of my MacBooks. So I don't know how many licenses, if there's any license at all that they allow you to share it with. I have not brought it in the Clubhouse yet, but we're talking about it with my supervisor. So if they allow you to share, remember back in the day, you could share programs across multiple computers and you didn't have to worry about licensing numbers or anything, then it can be really affordable.
Appreciate that. We've been looking at Adobe Animate, and there's a really steep learning curve.
Yeah.
So Doodly was one of the things that was recommended to us, but having not been able to use it myself, this is great to hear from someone who's actually used it.
Really similar to iMovie and Premiere. A lot of drag and drop, a lot of the commands, if you use those software programs even a little bit, you'll be able to figure it out really easy.
Cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions, either on process or how can, what are some ideas to kind of bring this into Clubhouse?
I'll share this. A lot of young people don't necessarily come into our clubhouses with a lot of confidence or a lot of self-esteem. I mean, it may be easier to get them to record their audio before you can get them to put their face on the screen. So there is an additional upgrade that I purchased with Doodly called People Builder. It's a new one that they've come out with, and it allows you to build people. They may have 3 different body size types, maybe about 5 different hairstyles, expressions. And the young people, that is a program that I do have on 2 computers in the Clubhouse. They'll build themselves if I really push them to record something. So they're not likely to place their face on camera, but if you give them an opportunity to animate, then they'll jump on that a little bit faster, and then slowly, the process is there, and then they'll begin to show their face on camera. So this kind of like jump starts that process.
Do you have any other experience with like avatar builders? Because I know that is a huge, like people don't want to see their faces and stuff. It takes a lot of bravery to cross that threshold. So do you know of any other like avatar builders that you can make characters really easily and then have them do some recording over it?
Actually, the young people have pointed me to 2 sites. I'll place them in the chat where they make their own anime characters. And we've been working with some projects using those. Now, they're not full body or anything. It's just headshots, but it does allow them to change the hairstyles and gender and all of that. So they actually showed me those. I didn't have any idea about those. I'll place those in the chat. Yeah, I'll grab the links and do that. Yeah.
And I would encourage anyone, if you have any additional resources, please feel free to utilize the chat. Cherrie, is there anything else you want to add before we pass the baton?
No, I'm excited to see what Galen and Gus is going to present. No, but thank you for allowing me to present. This was an amazing opportunity. So guys, if you're on the fence, not sure if you're going to apply for the fellowship, I'm telling you, please do. It was an amazing experience. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ms. Chillin. All right, we're just going to keep it moving. I could say so many wonderful things, but I won't take up that space. But Galen, I will pass it off to you.
Thank you, Stephanie and Cherrie. That was so awesome. And I just want to echo what you just said about, I encourage all of you to apply for this fellowship opportunity. It has been such an awesome time, learning with these guys. And it's kind of bittersweet that we're wrapping it up, because I want to just keep hanging out with Stephanie and Gustavo and Miss Chillin, because it's just been an awesome time and I've gained so much inspiration from you guys. So I definitely want to encourage everybody to apply. So I'll go ahead and share screen and kind of talk a little bit about the passion project that I was able to work on with the fellowship. Let's do with audio here. Okay, let's do. So my passion project here. First, I'll talk a little bit about my my passions to begin with. Oh, hold on, I'm trying to go full screen here. Control F5. Okay. So a lot of you guys know me and some of the work that I've done, with the Clubhouse network, but my passions, for as long as I can remember, being a young kid, have always centered around painting and drawing and character work. So I'll share a little bit about some of those things here. I've had a lot of opportunities in illustration. Like, these are a lot of illustration commissions that I've had for various organizations and companies and things like that. I do a lot of mural work, so I got some large scale projects here. So painting and drawing is really at the center of what I love to do. Even this backdrop for a music video was a really great opportunity, that sort of thing. So when it came time to have this opportunity with the fellowship, I really wanted to do something that centered around that passion. And at the same time, I really wanted to try something completely new, very much in the spirit of the Clubhouse model. I wanted to push myself to venture into some new territory and try something new. And so, right off the bat, let's see if it'll let me get my next slide. Right off the bat, I wanted to do something with podcasting. Podcasting is another thing that really excites me. In addition to my passions for painting and drawing, I really just have a passion for talking with people, having great conversation. And I love to hear about their practices. What is their passion? What do they like to do? What is some of the things that they do every day, involving their discipline? What kinds of things inspire them? Those are the kinds of things that are really interesting to me. So I thought a podcast would be a great opportunity for that. And I really want to do some interviews with alumni and some Clubhouse network people and, other folks that are kind of innovative thinkers and folks that think creatively, So the first thing I decided to do in order to kind of immerse myself in podcasting and learn this art form would be to facilitate a summer camp. So, we put it out there with my organization, Gold Crown, that we were going to do a podcasting summer camp. And we had 12 amazing youth sign up for this summer camp. And for 5 days, we really just, went with the whole Clubhouse model of imagining what kind of content you want to create. Each of these participants had a notebook. So they were, spending time really imagining, what kind of content. Then we started creating little practice podcasts. So one day we did a solo format. Another day we did an interview format. And we really did a lot of listening activities to explore like what kind of podcasts are out there. And, these 12 youth had a huge variety. Some of them were doing very personal stories. Other youth were doing like, just comedy or just, what they call spilling the tea, gossip, and, that kind of thing. So it was a huge variety of projects that came out of this. We even had a youth in this group that saw it as an opportunity to record audio for his animation and for his YouTube channel. So it was kind of cool that once they learned the tools of the microphones and Audacity for audio editing, they were able to create their own content. And so this was, very much the Clubhouse model of learning by doing. I'm new to podcasting, but I'm here instructing, and I'm here immersing myself with the youth. We did a lot of share outs, so Clubhouse model, every couple of days we would share what we recorded. And so this was really a great opportunity for me to kind of immerse myself in that side of things, try something new. Another great opportunity, and Cherrie shared this as well, was the Making and Tinkering Together workshop that we did with the Media Lab friends and with our Clubhouse Network friends. And this was so awesome because, like Cherrie described, this is a free app that anybody can put on their phone. And it was very intuitive, very accessible. Like, you can click frames and you can delete frames and you can do instant playback. So, we got a chance to animate our portraits. And I know my portrait here looks a little strange, and we'll get into that. So essentially, this character is a character that I call the Wonder Bug. And although it's not a literal portrait or a representation of what I look like, it's actually a representation of my playful, creative spirit, and so the Wonder Bug is a character that I'm using for my fellowship project as well. After being able to mess with this software, I came up with this little animation. And this was using everyday objects that are meaningful to us. And so for that, I brought a lot of things that me and my kids mess around with. I have 3 children of my own. So at home, we're always messing around with origami or Lego or beadwork, as you see here. This animation features a Valentine that my daughter made for me last Valentine's Day. And it has a drawing that my son did when he was 6 years old. So all these things are very close to my heart. And so it was a great opportunity to kind of test software that I ended up using a little bit for my fellowship passion project. Let's see if I can skip this frame. The other thing that I used a lot for this fellowship project was Flip-A-Clip. And I know some of you were in our little session that we did with the annual conference. We did a virtual session about Flip-A-Clip. And so I used this quite a bit. It's great because you can draw on the screen with a stylus and you can create frames. And so I used it for my intro sequence to this podcast project. And I guess I should say, I know I'm working 2 different things at the same time. Like I jumped into podcasting and recording audio. And at the same time, I wanted to create something that had animation to go with it. So I don't know if it's a podcast. I don't know if it's a YouTube show yet. I think it's probably going to eventually live on YouTube. So it's going to be more of a visual podcast or animated podcast. After messing around with Flip-a-Clip, I really kind of missed some of the painting and drawing techniques that I use with traditional media. So I actually shifted back to doing another sequence with the tools, some very low-tech tools. And in preparation of that, I used Adobe Illustrator and I created this template. So I was able to print out a frame template, because one of the things about animation is you got to make your frames line up. It's called registration. So I printed out sheets of animation frames. I was able to put 8 of them on a piece of paper at the same time. And so then they ended up being kind of stacks of paper like this, almost like a flip book. And so I went back to some traditional media for the next part of the intro sequence. And, a huge part of this fellowship project for me was actually just figuring out ways that I could work and create in any setting. I wanted to be able to animate on the iPad, but sometimes I'm, outside and there's sun, that kind of makes it hard to see the screen. I wanted to be able to animate at the kitchen table with my kids at home. I wanted to be able to, buzz around and be a Clubhouse coordinator and visit all of my Clubhouse members and help them with their projects. And at the same time, be able to sit down next to them, open up a quick animation kit and do a couple frames here and there. So I developed this awesome animation kit that I started using. It's super portable. It's basically the size of a lunchbox, but in there I was able to store my animation frames, a pen, an external hard drive, so I could, very quickly, put my scans in one place, or put my audio files in one place, or my animation frames. So that was cool. A good eraser and an eraser shield to be able to erase precisely on these frames, a couple watercolor sets and a couple travel brushes. And I really enjoyed this process. I think I'm going to continue using this process for the low tech side of things. And so my animation frames ended up looking a lot like this. So you would see a whole sequence. I could look at a sequence in front of me. I could have my backgrounds. I could have, my the facial expressions and the mouth movements could be on a separate layer. So it was kind of cool. I was actually writing my script and drawing at the same time. It was very integrated. So you'll see on a lot of these frames, you'll see my script is at the bottom, and then on the side margins, you'll see the mouth shapes that go with that, and you'll see like vowels and consonants, being used there. So it was a very integrated process. And with putting all these things together, I came up with a title for my show. And the title for my show is the Dream Action Team. Dream Action Team podcast, Dream Action Team Super Show. I'm not real sure about that exactly, but the title is very much inspired by, Mitch's creative learning spiral. And so, I drew a lot of inspiration from an article that Mitch wrote that's called "All I Need to Know About Creative Thinking I Learned by Studying How Children Learn in Kindergarten." And so in that article, he said something that I thought was really powerful. And it's something that we go back to, almost every day in the Clubhouse, which is, Mitch said, "I think of it as a spiraling process in which children imagine what they want to do, create a project based on their idea, play with their creations, share their ideas and creations with others, and reflect on their experience, all of which leads them to imagine new ideas and new projects." And so, in a way, I'm really borrowing from that whole learning model with this podcast. I want to talk and have conversations with people about their dreams, what Mitch was describing as the imagine stage. I want to get really in depth about talking about their ideation process, their experiences, their reflections on, all of their experiences, their memories. I want to get really in depth with that. Second thing I want to really talk about in this podcast is, what is their action plan? How do they take their dreams from something in their head and externalize it into some sort of thing that they can work on. And so, I want to talk with people about what kind of study they do, what kind of research, how do they play, how do they experiment, what is their discipline, like what do they do each day to kind of move something forward, what kinds of prototypes do they create, and what's their process for that. And so that's kind of the action part of it. And then team is really a conversation about community. Who are the people in your life that influence you? Who are your family, your friends and colleagues? What sort of mentorship have you had? And, in what ways do you share with your community? So it's that same spiral is present in the title for this project. And so what I want to share with you guys today, it's a work in progress. And, since it's really drawing on my passions, and those passions are ever present, this is an ongoing project. This is something I'm going to be working on continuously and, adding little updates to the village. But what I have to share with you today is just a few minutes of an animation test. So this is, 10 months in the making of experimentation and messing around and sharing ideas with Cherrie and Gustavo and Stephanie. It's very short, but it's kind of like the very beginning of this process.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's your old pal, Leafbug, here to welcome you to the first episode of the Dream Action Team podcast. So, what's this show all about? In short, it's conversations with innovative thinkers about their experiences, creative practices, and the communities they collaborate with.
So there's a little sample, and where I'm going to take it from here is I got some interviews lined up, with some of my Clubhouse alumni, and we're going to record some audio and then do some really fun animation with that. I thought it'd be a cool experiment too to really host the show with an avatar and with a character, because I thought that would open it up to my guests, that they could, if they want to be an animated character, we can work on that, or if they want to be their live action self, that works too. But I thought it would be an interesting thing to, allow for that, and just allow for people to identify how they wish for this podcast. And so where are we going to take it from here? Doing some interviews and currently learning some new softwares with my Clubhouse members. We just recently got the Creative Cloud. And so a couple of Clubhouse members and myself have been learning the Adobe Character Animator and the Adobe Animate programs. And so we're still in the early stages of kind of figuring that out, but I think that's definitely something that's going to be integrated into this project. And I want to keep it kind of experimental. Like if one sequence is done with one program and another sequence is done with another, I think that just adds to the variety and to the fun and spirit of like lifelong learning. Like I want to teach myself new programs. And, I even thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a whole sequence with Scratch? Because I could actually create all the mouth movements in the dialogue as a library of costumes that could be swapped out, with the dialogue. So I got a bunch of crazy ideas of where to take this project, and I hope you all will follow along with me on the village to see, where it goes from here. But that's my passion. That's my passion project. And I'd love to hear all of your questions and share some ideas. Let me get out of share screen here.
Boy, that is a lot of work. I gotta commend you. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Galen, we're so proud of you. We know that you're talented every single day, but Brittany and I are sitting here just going, we're amazed, and so are Tamara and Alexis, and we're just so happy to have you be on our team and keep us playful and bring out the best in everyone. It's just incredible to watch what you've done, and we're just really proud of you every day, but especially right now.
Killing
I
it.
know how long you've been working. Yeah,
You've been killing it.
Well, thank you. And I want to take this opportunity too to just shout out, my whole team, my Dream Action team, which is, the Gold Crown Foundation and the enrichment staff, my colleagues. You guys all, show me so much support. And so I really want to shout you guys out. And I just love collaborating with y'all. And then I want to do another shout out too, just to the fellowship, because I don't know if there's any way we could keep a little fellowship meetup every once in a while going, but I feel like, I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. And I feel like I'm going to miss this fellowship. It's been such a great time that I hope we can keep some contact going and collaboration going.
I won't cut you off just yet. We'll have soon. This is the start of our own little fellowship alumni network. There it is, Lynn. She knows. Thank you. And I'd love to hear, if you have any other questions, anyone regarding either integrating animation, like some of your favorite apps or programs, please feel free to utilize this time to ask Galen.
One of the things that our EFTW team is working on is using Scratch to animate a welcome tour to our Best Buy Teen Tech Center, and then have a scavenger hunt on Scratch. So yes, the animation on Scratch is a lot of fun, and the kids are eating it up.
That's awesome. I'd love to stay in contact with you and see how those projects turn out. And as I'm experimenting with animation in Scratch too, I think, it'd be great to collaborate with you guys if possible.
I think the kids would enjoy that.
One thing that comes to mind for me, I've done a workshop here at the Best Buy Teen Tech Center using a JavaScript library. It's called P5JS. And you can do all kinds of crazy stuff using code. You can use loops to make animations and circles flying around, and use that, integrate that into some kind of video piece. Say one of the youth wants to make a music video, have that integrated in there. And what the takeaway from that would be, they learn how to actually write one of the most popular coding languages on earth, which is JavaScript. This is great ideas. Thank you for the inspiration.
Well, thank you. I wrote that one down because I'm not too familiar with P5JS, but I would love to learn more about that. That sounds awesome.
Is that P as in Paul, 5J, S as in Sam?
Yes, it's kind of there's a processing, which is Java, and it's kind of the code you use to animate and stuff, but that's the JavaScript library for that, P5JS. And David Schiffman has a YouTube channel called The Coding Train, and that has some wonderful stuff in it. So look it up.
So thank you. I'm writing these down. These are awesome things to check out. Anybody have any other questions or anything? Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I got a little sneak peek at the new village. And so, this project is mainly going to live on the village. And so I'm hoping to get some new sequences up for you guys, and some interviews with some Clubhouse alumni, and just take this to that next step. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you, Galen. I can vouch for how hard Galen has worked in this, and like many of us that have endeavored in creative processes, there was a lot of changes and a lot of evolution, and I think that that is such an important process to also not just share with each other, but share with our youth. I used to think that the first time you made something was supposed to be perfect, and if you didn't, like move on to a different type of medium, right? But it's not that. It's the progression and the so. Modeling that I think is a learning experience in and of itself. So thank you, Galen. And I'm gonna Jake and I are gonna save this chat. I think there's a lot of great resources popping up in the chat. Feel free to keep dropping any of your favorite links, and I will, as things keep being mentioned, I will try to add those as well, and we'll make those accessible to you all afterwards. And without further ado, I would love to pass it over to Gus. Gus, are you frozen? Gus gave me a warning yesterday. Oh, are we back? There we go.
Hi. Can y'all see okay?
You good?
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so yeah, first of all, I wanted to thank the Clubhouse Tech Fellows as well, Stephanie, Galen, and sure it's been really fun and everything. So I love the exploration and learning we've done with our projects. So big shout out to you all. And so yeah, I'm here to talk about my passion project, which I dubbed the Clubhouse Metaverse. And so I'll talk a little bit about what this is, the background, because there's a lot of like technicalities of what this project, I guess, is about. So yeah, so what is the Clubhouse Metaverse, right? You might have heard the word metaverse. It's a buzzword happening right now in Silicon Valley and stuff. And to think about it, it's the way that I like to think about it is that it's the future iteration of the internet. And if we look at the internet right now in like three distinct times that it has existed. So I don't know if many of you here remember America Online or AOL in the 90s. You could say that that was like our web 1.0, right? We connected through dial-up. We might have gone on chat rooms, but the internet wasn't there yet the way that we're using it today, right? It was still, you had to sit at the desktop, and it was clunky, and a lot of basic HTML and CSS websites. So then we move into the early 2000s, and kind of currently where we're at, Web 2.0, which you see the emergence of social media, right? And outside of social media, you start to see the internet also go from desktop to mobile, right? And so that's like one of the big leaps and advancements in Web 2.0, that the internet is now a mobile. And so we have all these cell phones and tablets, and the internet is essentially everywhere nowadays, right? And we find ourselves tapping and looking at 2D screens most of the day. I think there was a estimation that we more than like 2,500 times that we're tapping per day on our screens and clicking and stuff. So it's a lot. So that's how we are right now. And Web 3.0, which compromises of a bunch of different technologies and new infrastructure, there's this buzzword going around called the metaverse. And I've described it, I kind of gave it the Wikipedia definition there, that it's the concept of a future iteration of the internet made up of persistent shared 3D virtual spaces linked to a perceived virtual universe. So if you think about Web 2.0 today, it's mostly about consuming content, sharing, and liking, right? We connect with each other and we share content. Web 3.0, I think that the big promise is shared experiences and the cross collaboration of products and services kind of coming together into one more unified internet, I suppose. So if you think about, let's say that you were in Web 3.0, let's say that you were going to buy a vehicle, right? You might go to, I don't know, Toyota or Ford and see a vehicle, and they might provide you a 3D asset of the vehicle, which then you could use that asset for a bunch of different things. You might be able to, for example, share it with your friends, right? And in a VR environment, so all of you can see the vehicle in the same digital space, even if you're far away. Not only that, but you might be able to take that same vehicle and drag and drop it, sort of like the equivalent of drag and drop, into your favorite video game and then test drive it in that video game. So Web 3.0 is about merging all these services and technologies into one unified universe of the internet, right? So it's like a future iteration of the internet. If you all are familiar with the movie Ready Player One, you kind of got a glimpse of the metaverse, or at least what it seems that tech companies are working towards. So yeah, the metaverse is just the future internet, what I believe is coming to us, and it's going to be powered by some specific technologies that make the metaverse a little bit more unique than our current devices, are what is called the XR devices. So virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. And some of you probably in your clubhouses are already using some of this tech. It's great, and I'm focusing in my passion project on mostly on the VR side. But these technologies have different although they're different, they're very similar in the content creation and can be used across each platform. X in the XR is more like a variable that explains that all of these technologies together. And so we're going to see this a lot. I think right now, for example, the latest iPhone update, iOS 15, under Maps has like a really interesting AR component that if you point your camera in the maps in a city, it'll start giving you information of the location of the buildings that you're looking at. So that's an example of AR. That is one of the most popular games right now over the years has been Pokemon Go, right? That's an example of augmented reality in play. And you could think of the augmented reality and virtual reality, the XR is as this mixed reality spectrum, it is called. So you have over here the real world, and all the way to the right, you have the virtual world. You're encapsulated in a whole different world. And in the middle, there's like a mix between the AR and VR, in which content around your environment is taken into account to display digital holograms and assets. So that would be like the mixed reality. Really cool stuff. Some of you might have seen our headset that we have at ListoAmerica, the HoloLens, which is an amazing device, and it's a holographic computer. And I think more of that stuff is shortly going to come over the years. So another little bit of background. This is a cool project I created with some of the members when we went to the Mentor conference in January of 2020. And so this is an example of AR technology for a t-shirt that we designed that we wanted to kind of showcase the clubhouse and projects and what we do through this cool, AR activated t-shirt. So, but my project is not AR. My project is a clubhouse. So I'm imagining a clubhouse. That's what I'm calling it, the clubhouse metaverse. It's a clubhouse space powered by Web 3.0 and XR technologies, where members and mentors across the network can create, collaborate, and share projects. So, like we have things like the Village right now. We have individual clubhouses, but I think that the promise of Web 3.0 and the metaverse is that we might be able to unify our clubhouse network even more in the future and do new things that are not possible with our current sort of technologies. So I imagine a space in the future where a member from one clubhouse in the East Coast can collaborate with one in the West Coast in real time and be working on like a 3D project together. And then is accessible to all clubhouses everywhere. Maybe that asset that they create, another member might be interested in using it in a video game. And so we start to see this sharing of assets, not only for the thing that which they're building it on, but it could be utilized in other places, right? It could be used as avatars, as video game components and things like that. So it's really cool. So here's sort of, so to begin this project, I think during the annual conference, I previewed this a little bit, was already starting to work on these projects. And so here I'm using AltSpace VR, which has a really cool world builder component for developers in which you could create your own environments, or you could use a template that they have and start populating with your 3D assets. And so that's what I did here with, I brought in the Clubhouse Network logo. I made it into a 3D logo that I could put in these spaces and start having these digital experiences with mentors and members. So
I think
here we are.
Well, yeah, I think I should just stick with the Discord project then, just because I feel like the social media project, that's the one that with Maya, right? The other day. Yeah, I think maybe, I don't know, if somebody else decides to change their mind and join that project, I think it would benefit them more than me, just because I think Discord would benefit me more, if that makes sense. So I think I would rather like give.
So there's, I'm here talking to one of the members in this new space that I created, so like a digital clubhouse. Another thing is that I could work in VR, and this is another thing that I explore also with the members. This is using another program called Immersed VR, in which you essentially could have your office in a VR space. And here we're looking, because we're in the pandemic, we're using Discord. I'm here in this spaceship, and I could sort of lay out my keyboard, and the Oculus Quest that I'm wearing has hand tracking, and I could kind of align it with my keyboard and literally be in this space. This is my office, you could imagine, right? So it's a really cool environment. And the cool thing about it is that you could bring in youth and more people. So I'm here with another member. Actually, it's the same member, but we're here collaborating and talking about things that we're going to do with Discord and just planning and stuff. So we're having a meeting in this VR space. So this like Galen earlier said, for me, it's this is still a work in progress that I'm still working on, and because the technology to get it to the point where I want it to be is, there's so much, right? And fortunately, I've been fortunate because of this program. I've been able to sort of learn and upskill in Unity, and I'm trying to get to be a Unity developer, and getting, so there's all of these great resources from Unity in which I've been learning on how to create these worlds and stuff. But essentially, I really want to build this ultimately this clubhouse that exists in the internet, where we could access it through the XR devices, and it could be shared across the network. So, for example, I could upload the projects that were just showcased by Galen and Chillin into a section of this digital clubhouse in the Clubhouse Tech Fellow digital space. So, and people can upload all of their things, their projects with music, meet up. So these are just some of the ideas that I've been working with and doing. So here's the space and what it looks like. It's using Allspace and Unity together. So there's these plugins that you can make this happen. And you could visit this space. I will give you the information where you could come and visit me and we could interact in there. Here's the things that we could do. We could play and interact. I'm here playing with some, what they call interactables. So you could have these really cool interactions with people. This was great, even like during the pandemic, like when we couldn't go to the clubhouse or something, we could still connect and provide mentorship and things like this. So, it's my hope that we could get more headsets and I could distribute them across our members so that they could connect to our digital clubhouse. And so this is a cool space that you could visit right now that I had created using another program called CoSpaces EDU. And this is sort of kind of like a rapid iteration of what you could do with these spaces that you could then incorporate into Unity and host it somewhere so that people could log in. This doesn't have a collaborative capabilities yet, like Altspace does, but it's for me to demo a layout if you want to quickly sort of like design something. And so this is like the digital clubhouse. And as soon as it loads right here, it should. I'm going to share this link of this presentation too, so that you could access these places too. And let me see if I could. Yeah, so I don't know if you could see it, but here's the entrance. It looks like there's nothing there, but when you open the door, it's a secret door that goes into this clubhouse space. So here's the digital clubhouse. But imagine this place. Imagine that people could really, youth can go in here in this music studio and really create with music, right? There's going to be technology there that allows them to play with tech and play with music and stuff. So this is just some of the ideas that I have. And so that's pretty much the concept. It's still a work in progress. I'm going to be uploading all of this work on the Clubhouse Village and updating the alt space area. And these are some of the technologies that I was using over the course of the program for the Tech Fellows. And if you have alt space, I highly encourage you to get it. My username is G Madrigal. And you could send me a friend request there, and I could invite you to the Clubhouse space I created, and we could I could show you more about it, and sort of you could get an idea of what a digital Clubhouse VR space is, and what I feel is going to be essentially something that will be maybe, who knows, maybe the village will turn into something like that in the future, where it's going to be aligned with the whole metaverse concept. So, and then lastly, since we don't, I know we don't have time, but I set here a link of two really interesting things that are happening right now. That these are technologies that are happening. So Microsoft recently this year released this thing called Microsoft Mesh. And this is kind of, this is already happening. It's working. Check this video out, it's amazing. And then there's a very interesting TED Talk by the creator of the HoloLens about the dawn of the age of the hologram. So I have those there in this presentation, which I'll share the link right now with you. And yeah, so that's my project. So if there are any questions, yeah, now's the time.
So I just wanted to jump in and say, just awesome, Gus. I feel like Aaron said it in the chat, you definitely live in the future, and I love that you're taking all of us with you. I think that's amazing. A question I had was, you talked about like different technology, like in the music studio and stuff, being able to be integrated. How hard is it to integrate different technologies? Like, let's say if people wanted to draw together and there was a specific app or program that they wanted to use, how hard is it to integrate different collaborative softwares and technology into that digital clubhouse space?
Yeah, the problem right now, Cassandra, is that everything is fragmented. So I wouldn't say that it's difficult. It's just that you have to jump around different programs, kind of like the way that I showed that immersed VR program where I had the keyboard and I could, that's great for like office work and collaborating with others and having your monitors just floating up in front of you. But I can't, but then to hop into a 3D software program, I have to log out. I have to, go in and we could go in together, but then we have to create all these user accounts and all that. And so that's why right now the people in tech industry are kind of working on unifying all this tech so that the metaverse is more like HTML, where everyone uses HTML to build websites. And so there's this unified infrastructure that could hop around places. It's kind of like if you think of the standard of PDF documents, right? I could send you a PDF and you could open it in any device. I think the future of the metaverse is kind of like that, but with a bunch of holograms and 3D assets. So that 3D assets, like I said, if you're going to buy a vehicle, you could not only see it in AR, but you could use that vehicle in another program to use it perhaps in a video game or, whatever you want to do with it. So, so that's kind of the promise of the metaverse.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of technology that has to evolve and kind of get streamlined. But yeah, again, I love that you're already thinking about that and you're like starting to take us in that direction, because I think that's definitely where we need to go if we want to keep pace with technology and make sure we're giving our youth the most interactive experience, even if we can't be in person. So round of applause for you on that, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Facebook is going to have a conference next week in which I think they're going to showcase, or maybe probably already release, what they call Horizons. And it's sort of like their version of a metaverse, a place where we can collaborate, play, and be in. There's like a 3D world where all that. So I think we'll hear about it more next week.
And Bonnie had a question previously in the chat. Bonnie, I don't know if you want to go ahead and voice it over, or if I can.
Oh, yeah, I feel a little old or silly asking the question, but
no silly questions.
Those kids are not with you in the tech center. They're somewhere else talking to you?
Yes, yeah. So that's the beauty of this tech, right? That especially during the pandemic, I was able to ship out a headset to a member, and we could connect in these spaces. Yeah, and we feel like we're there together, but obviously we're at each other's homes. Or
Flabbergasted. Star Trek. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Well, none of you also have concerns, but.
And I'll share my presentation if you want to take a look more at those talks. They're really interesting. Yeah, I just posted on the chat.
There's a lot, and don't feel, I know that I think when I first saw this, I was like very intimidated by it. But Gus has found a way to make this just really accessible. I think not just for our understanding, but also for members. In the same way that Galen has done that with animation and Cherrie has done that with storytelling. So if you have any questions around those, please, I welcome it. And Jeff, you have a question?
I don't have a question, and I was going to type this in the chat, but I figured I might as well just tell you directly to your faces that this is incredible. I didn't really have a picture of what this was going to be like when the program first got started, but I think you've outdone, all three of y'all have outdone anything that I could have conjured up. And what I was going to type in the chat was, you followed your curiosity and literally embodied what the learning model is about and what we hope to have our young people be doing. And so kudos to all of y'all.
I'm seconding what I second what Jeff is saying. All of the projects were so diverse, creative, inspiring, amazing. So thank you guys for sharing. Like you guys, I wish I had these type of teachers when I was younger, but Lord knows we didn't have the technology. But yeah, it's clear we're way in the future, and it's good that you guys are leading. Very special. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or I keep saying concerns, it's just all alliteration. Any other thoughts before we move it on?
I think all three of y'all are dope. I put it in the chat. I've been a fan for years. Like, this is why I come to conference. This is why I come to Teen Summit. This is why is to get this level of inspiration to bring back to my members. Y'all always deliver 100% every single time. So kudos to you all.
Thank you, Aaron. And as Bonnie wrote in the chat, you make me want to learn. We're all here learning, learning the lifelong process, right? So let's just keep on learning. And this round of fellowship is really tailored around the interests of these three individuals. So, what's going to happen when we have three new individuals with three new interests? And I'm always just very excited. I think very much like Jeff said, when this started, it was like, I don't know where this is going to go. It can go many different ways. And yeah, I'm just like, as someone that has been part of the process since day one, or should I say day negative 100, I'm just really impressed by just like the evolution of not just these three individuals in their craft and in their ability to showcase their work around the Clubhouse, but really, I think the impact and the influence that it has across our network. So thank you all. All right. And unless there are any other closing comments, questions, concerns, So there's going to be merch coming. You have to subscribe. That's the premium service, Jeff. It's a monthly membership paid directly to me via Venmo. I'm going to go ahead.
If I could just say one thing, Steph.
Yeah.
Real quick. I know when we work with our young people, we're always talking about career exploration and what do you want to be when you grow up? I think that now, and even, before now, we could tell our kids or share with them, you could be a Clubhouse coordinator. That is a real career. This is my 4th Clubhouse. I've left the network for 3 years and come back. So this is a real career, and one that really does speak to a multidisciplinary creative mind or person. So let's not forget that when we are sharing careers with our young people, that this is a real career that pays real bills.
Thank you, Cherrie. And if you want to go ahead and keep your youth interest in your kids, and I think similarly to you, Cherrie, I studied creative learning, and I was like, wow, this is all great in theory, but now being around all of you all, I'm realizing it's far beyond the theory, right? It was far beyond those conversations. It really is something that is built across people like you, and people like you, I think, really are the reason that the network is where it is and will continue to grow and expand. I think for what are we at, 30 years, 30 more, so thank you all. All right, I'm gonna transition us to, I want to do a quick little sneak peek preview, whatever we're gonna call it, of the Clubhouse Village Spark Cards. So but before I start sharing, let me back up and what are the Spark Cards? Around the first Impacts mentorship grant, maybe a few years ago, Gus, you might know, maybe 2015, I don't know, I made that up. We, a group of clubhouses and the mentor coordinators worked together to develop these project ideas. It was a deck of cards, still available for all of you. I can drop the PDF in the chat. I'm sure many of you already have them, or the physical copies. And we decided, let's just create some new project ideas, things that can be easily shared. And these will live on the village. My hope is that in the coming months and years, that we can develop some sort of format. So not just coordinators, but members can contribute and submit project ideas and kind of like their own tutorials. So many of these projects are things that hadn't even crossed my mind previously, and I'm really excited to have them all in one space. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So here at clubhousevillage.org/sparkcards, you'll see that there's a bunch of new things. And one day they will have these fun pictures, and that day is not today. So they're broken up in arts and crafts and 3D engineering and VR, AR, AV production. So one of my favorite kind of aspects of this is the random spark. And here's a new one called kit bashing, which is something I learned about. And it's kind of just taking broken toys or other components of things and making them into a brand new thing, So I think that's super cool. And this is just an idea to get youth inspired and to create something, And then, there's a bunch of different, skateboard art, how to kind of take something that already exists and modify it. I think, for a lot of youth, that's where the creative process can start, is remixing something that already exists. So, one of my, one thing I really like this, and all of this is still in the early stages, and we're hoping that this will continue to develop and evolve. But you should be able to search by like a specific tool, for example. Like if I have paper, pencils, and a marker, what can I do, and that's a way to kind of get youth started. Podcasting, and a lot of these instructions are meant to be very simple and very minimal instruction. That way it's not like something that it's not a guide that you have to follow. It's really just meant to spark like an inspiration, as we've said in the past. There's everything from, designing a Clubhouse mural to gardening with like recycled containers, game development, building through VR, designing anime. Someone and I were having a conversation about anime earlier today. And this is really integrating both low tech and high tech, right? Some things are going to be pretty advanced using VR and AR technology. Some things are just using pen and paper, and really everything in between, to really aim to get like a broad spectrum of learners in the space. So I'm really excited to be able to share this stuff with you, and also just to kind of keep it going and growing. And you'll see a lot more product ideas coming in 2022 with the new fellows. So I'm thrilled to share this with you all. And if you have any like Spark Card ideas, I am always here to listen, and I'd love to integrate some more of your thoughts, and because you all are in the spaces, and you all know what your youth and teens are gravitating to, and we want to make sure that we're highlighting that. So you'll see there's like a bunch of stuff, and it just keeps going. So all of that is available to you, and if you're interested in the Clubhouse Village is opened up, and it's like very early soft opening stages. If you are interested in getting in now, rather than that big grand opening that we're going to do in I think in January, send me a message, send me an email, drop a comment in this chat, send an email to Jason, Jake, or myself. Jason has been really pioneering this project, but we've all been working alongside him on it. So yeah, if you want to be a part of it, like, you're invited, all right, are there any questions, any questions, comments, concerns, before I share our final thing? You want in, Jill wants in, Jason, that's me. and yes,
Please and thank you.
Of course. Yeah, we welcome everyone, and we're really excited to get your youth in there, and seeing how we can make it stronger, and cool. Any questions, comments, concerns? No? All right. Well, so it looks like we're gonna be wrapping up early, but I, as promised, want to go ahead and share with you some more information about the 2022 Tech Fellows program. I'm super excited to get this going, and Galen, Cherrie, Gus, you've been amazing, and I will definitely be tapping into you next year to connect with our next cohort. I'm going to put in the chat first the overview of the fellowship. I would encourage anyone that's interested in applying to read that first. It really goes into detail about, what are the expectations, what are some of the time commitments, who qualifies, it's any Clubhouse coordinator, assistant coordinator, C2C pathways facilitator, mentor coordinator. If you are an employee of the Clubhouse or a Best Buy Teen Tech Center, and you're working directly with youth in that space, you are welcome to apply. If you're not sure, send me an email, srosario@theclubhousenetwork.org. I'm also on the website if you forget. There are some, these are all estimates. I'm sure that at points, Gus, is part-time eligible? That's a good question. I don't know if that's something I thought about. Full-time is definitely eligible. Part-time, I think it depends on the capacity that they're working in the space. Like an assistant coordinator might be part-time, and they are, definitely able to apply. Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of different projects. This whole fellowship was really developed around these three individuals. So that being said, it's going to be a very different program next year, and in that document, it also outlines some important dates. So all of y'all are going to get an early release right now. There's that Google Doc in the chat, a Google form in the chat. And then this application is going to get shared with the network publicly on October 20th. So that's this upcoming Wednesday. And the application is going to close on November 12th at midnight Eastern time. So whatever that is, wherever you are, you might get a few extra hours, you might lose a few extra hours. Our hope is to have final decisions and emails out by the week of December 13th. So it'll be a month, and then we kick it off mid-January, and I'm so excited to have you all, potentially apply. This link, this application, just keep it with the people that are in this group. If you do share it, it is what it is. Someone just finds out a few days early, but we're going to be sharing it publicly with our network then. And if you have any questions, I'll put my email in the chat. It's a long email. Don't hesitate to reach out. But that is all I have. And again, I want to thank you all so truly for taking time on your Friday afternoon to be here, Friday morning, depending on where you are, Friday night. And Gus, Cherrie, Galen, thank you. And I'm sure that if any of you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or feel free to reach out to any of us. And have a great weekend, everyone, and take care. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have
Good
a good
job, Galen and Gus.
Take care, everyone. See you in the metaverse.
You mean the multiverse?
We'll do that.
Cool. And Jace, you saved the chat. We good? All right, y'all. We're closing out. Peace out, everyone. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.